The Battle of Phước Long was a decisive battle of the Vietnam War which began on December 12, 1974, and concluded on January 6, 1975. The battle involved the deployment of North Vietnam's 4th Army Corps for the first time, against determined units of the South Vietnamese Army in Phuoc Long in Binh Phuoc province near the Cambodian border, under the command of Lieutenant General Du Q Uc Cheng. On December 12, 1974, the North Vietnamese 4th Army Corps launched their campaign against Phuoc Long aiming to achieve three key objectives. Firstly, North Vietnamese leaders wanted to test the reaction of the United States government, to see if they would actually uphold former President Richard Nixon's promises of military retaliation against North Vietnam. Secondly, North Vietnamese field commanders wanted to test the combat readiness of the South Vietnamese Army. And thirdly, the North Vietnamese wanted to solve their logistical problems once and for all, by capturing the district of Phuoc Long and the important transportation routes around it. The North Vietnamese campaign proved to be a major success, because the fall of Phuoc Long showed that the involvement of the United States in the Vietnam War was truly over, especially when the United States Congress repeatedly voted against additional aid for South Vietnam. Militarily, the victory at Phuoc Long also enabled the North Vietnamese to expand their logistical routes from the central highlands of South Vietnam to the Mekong Delta, which placed enormous pressure on the Army of the Republic of Vietnam. Background: during the Vietnam War, the district of Phuoc Long played an important role in the defensive posture of the Army of the Republic of Vietnam. Phuoc Long is about 120 kilometers north of Saigon. It shared a border with the South Vietnamese districts of Binh Long in the west, Quang Thc in the east, and Long Can district in the south. Phuoc Long also shares an international border with Cambodia. The district of Phuoc Long and the military zones of BTHC, Thon Luan, THC Phong, the administrative center of Phuoc Binh, and Ba Ra Mountain lies at the center of South Vietnam's defensive line in 3rd Corps, which served to defend Saigon and the populous southern provinces. Route 14, which ran through the district of Phuoc Long and other key military zones, was an important North Vietnamese transportation route which linked the Ho Chi Minh Trail with other communist-occupied territories in South Vietnam. For that reason, regular units of the South Vietnamese Army in Phuoc Long were often placed in a strong position, from which they could disrupt North Vietnamese supply lines. Due to the vulnerability of their supply lines in Phuoc Long and the surrounding areas, North Vietnamese troops at the Viet Cong capital of Loc Ninh in the Central Highlands often found themselves isolated from their comrades in the southern provinces of South Vietnam. Combatants: North Vietnam. On July 20, 1974, the High Command of the Vietnam People's Army created the 4th Army Corps for the purpose of capturing Phuoc Long from the opposing South Vietnamese. Major General Hoang Cam was appointed as the first commander of the 4th Army Corps. The main body of the North Vietnamese 4th Army Corps included the 3rd and 7th Infantry Divisions, the 165th, 201st and 271st Regiments formed the 3rd Infantry Division, while the 2nd, 141st and 209th Regiments formed the 7th Division. In addition, the aforementioned units were supported by the 429th Special Forces Regiment, the 25th Engineers Regiment, the 210th and 235th Logistical Groups and the Viet Cong 9th Division. The North Vietnamese campaign against Phuoc Long was planned to take place in two separate phases. In the first phase, North Vietnamese and Viet Cong forces would capture the military zones surrounding Phuoc Long, which included Bu Dang, Bu Na, Bo Duc, Duc Phong, Don Luan, and South Vietnamese fire bases around Ba Ra Mountain. In the second phase, North Vietnamese and Viet Cong units would launch a frontal assault, aimed directly at the district of Phuoc Long. the administrative center of Phuoc Bin and the strategically important Ba Ra Mountain. In both phases of operation, the North Vietnamese Army would have to secure Route 14 in order to prevent South Vietnamese reinforcements, which could have come in the form of the ARVN 5th, 18th or 25th Infantry Divisions. South Vietnam's main defensive assets in and around Phước Long included 5 security battalions and 48 platoons of civilian self-defense forces. The defense of Phước Long was the responsibility of ARVN Lieutenant General Du Quoc Thang. The 341st and 352nd Security Battalions were tasked with the defense of Don Luan. The 363rd Security Battalion stationed at Bun A. The 362nd Security Battalion guard the main roads from Vinh Thuan to Bu Dang, and the 340th Security Battalion was placed in reserve at Phước Long District. The 341st, 352nd and 363rd Security Battalions all shared the responsibility of protecting Route 14 and the adjoining roads. Firepower support came in the form of one artillery battalion, which was based at the center of Phước Long District, equipped with 150 mm and 155 mm artillery guns. Like during the Easter Offensive, the strongest units of the South Vietnamese Army and 3rd Corps could be deployed to defend Phước Long from potential attacks, which included 3 infantry divisions and 2 armored units. In an emergency, the ARVN 18th Infantry Division based at Bien Hoa could reach Phước Long in the shortest period of time, and the next closest unit was the ARVN 5th Infantry Division based at Ben Cat. In addition, Lieutenant General Du Quoc Thang could have access to the 81st Airborne Ranger Battalion in more than 100 helicopters, mainly UH-1 Huey and CH-47 Chinook models, while air support could come in the form of fighter bombers from the 3rd and 5th Air Divisions of the South Vietnamese Air Force, based at Tan Son Nhut Air Base and Bien Hoa Air Base. Prelude. The North Vietnamese military opened its campaign against Phước Long on December 12, 1974, using the 4th Battalion of the 165th Infantry Regiment to attack a South Vietnamese outpost located on Route 14, which was defended by a single South Vietnamese security company. On the same night, the military zone of Bu Thp was also attacked by a company of Viet Cong Special Forces from the Phuoc Bin area. During the next few days, the South Vietnamese Army managed to recapture its positions along Route 14, but they could not clear the main road. On December 13, ARVN Colonel Nguyen Thang Than inspected the Route 14 area, and decided to raise the level of alertness from code yellow to orange for all South Vietnamese installations in the area. Due to the heavy rain which flooded the main roads leading to Phước Long, the North Vietnamese decided to postpone further attacks which were planned to take place on December 13. On December 14, the under-strength 271st Regiment of the North Vietnamese 302nd Division launched their attack on the ARVN 362nd Security Battalion, also based in Bu Thp. After 2 hours of fighting, nearly all members of the 271st of a Stone Regiment had sustained injuries. But the 271st Regiment managed to penetrate the South Vietnamese defensive line around Bu Thp, and by 11:30 am the 271st Regiment successfully overwhelmed the Bu Thp military zone. On the same day, after a night of encirclement, the North Vietnamese 165th and 201st Regiments, both drawn from the 7th Infantry Division, began asserting their authority over the Vinh Thanh area and the Bù Đăng administrative center after more than 2 hours of fighting. On December 15, soldiers from the North Vietnamese 429th Special Forces Regiment attacked Bù Nha, which was defended by one South Vietnamese company from the 363rd Security Battalion, and an artillery platoon. The 363rd Security Battalion, with strong support from South Vietnamese Air Force fighter bombers based at Bien Hoa Air Base, fought back fiercely in their attempt to defend Bù Nha. However, by the end of the day South Vietnamese defenders around Bù Nha gave up, when reinforcements from Phước Long failed to arrive due to the closure of Route 14 by the North Vietnamese Army. On December 16, Lieutenant General Du Quoc Thang flew out to Phước Long to assess the situation around the area, and to bolster the defences of Phước Long with the 7th Regiment, from the ARVN 5th Infantry Division. On the same day, South Vietnamese Colonel Du Quoc Thanh also organized a number of counter-attacks against North Vietnamese positions around Route 14, which connects with the Bù Đăng area, but on each occasion they were pushed back by local Viet Cong units who were guarding the area. Several days later, on December 22, the South Vietnamese 341st Security Battalion at BTHC was attacked for the second time by the North Vietnamese 165th Regiment. Subsequently, South Vietnamese units at Phuoc Tin, Phuoc Qua, and Phuoc Loc were also overwhelmed by the North Vietnamese. The ARVN attempted to stage a counter-attack on Bo Duc, but they were easily defeated by the North Vietnamese 6th 165th Regiment. As a result, all surviving South Vietnamese units retreated back to the Ba Ra area to lick their wounds. 2 days later, General Du Quoc Thang tried to reinforce Phước Long with a regiment from the ARVN 18th Infantry Division, but President Nguyen Van Chu overturned General Thang's decision on the basis that all deployments at the regimental level must be made by Chu himself. As a result, Lieutenant General Du Quoc Thang had to order Brigadier General Le Nguyen Vai to reinforce the areas around Thong Xoai with units taken from the ARVN 5th Infantry Division. However, by the time regular ARVN units arrived at their destination, the North Vietnamese had already encircled the Don Luan military zone, so it was within range of the formidable North Vietnamese long-range artillery guns. Even though the South Vietnamese received extensive air support, they could only send one company into Thong Xoai, so Brigadier General Le Nguyen Vai was forced to withdraw his forces from the area. At 5:37 a.m. on December 26, 1974, the North Vietnamese 141st Regiment opened their attack on the South Vietnamese base at Thon Luan from 4 different directions. After 15 minutes of artillery bombardment from supporting artillery units, due to the strong presence of North Vietnamese artillery, South Vietnamese artillery units at Don Luan were simply overwhelmed. In addition, the high-caliber anti-aircraft guns used by the North Vietnamese 20th Air Defense Battalion also limited the effectiveness of the A-1 Skyrider and the A-37 Dragonfly, used by the South Vietnamese Air Force to support the ground troops. At 10:30 a.m. all South Vietnamese units at Thon Luan capitulated and Major Thang Vu Co, commander of the 352nd Security Battalion, was captured at Sua Rat along with his junior officers. Towards the end of the day, the North Vietnamese 141st Regiment also captured other South Vietnamese installations at Ta Bi, Phuoc Thin and a helicopter base. In just 2 weeks the North Vietnamese Army had managed to punch several holes in the defensive line of South Vietnam's 3rd Corps, with the capture of Bù Thp, Bù Nha, Bù Thang and Thon Luan. For the ARVN, the loss of 4 important outposts in Third Corps was a severe blow, especially with opposing North Vietnamese and Viet Cong forces controlling all main roads leading to the district of Phước Long such as Route 14, Route 7, and the provincial roads 1 and 2. The ARVN, based at the administrative center of Phuoc Bin and Phước Long, suddenly found themselves surrounded by the strong and well-equipped North Vietnamese 4th Army Corps.